Hello and welcome to the Convention Creatives. I am PB, the Pixel Brush, and your resident artist.
And I'm Jay, who's just an aspiring convention junkie, here to keep PB caffeinated and slightly less chaotic.
Each episode, we'll be bringing you into the world of UK convention creativity and those behind-the-scenes stories that no one tells you about.
So, I suggest you buckle up, because this is going to be a very colourful adventure.
Let's go.
So, we are back for episode 2.
So, I am going to start the second episode by saying I love you all for listening to the first episode, and thank you for clicking the button on the second one. It is daunting to having to listen to us for another freaking hour. But we appreciate you. We love you, and your support is going to be the little fuel in our engine to make this podcast chug along. So thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in for the second episode. I'm glad that you listened to the first one and thought, yes. I want more. So welcome. You're very welcome to the second episode.
Very welcome. We're very excited, especially for this one. This one has a lot of planning.
Yeah.
Mr. Burns pose.
It's very low energy.
Yeah.
It's a topic I'm very interested to discuss. And I think luckily by launching a podcast in January, we've chosen the perfect time.
It is the perfect time. Yeah. Can't believe it. Feels like only 2 weeks ago that I told you let's do this. And here we are.
The speed at which we work, you know?
You know what? That is as convention artist as it gets. It's strike while the iron's hot. Do it or lose it, literally.
Exactly.
That is how it goes. Well, I'm actually buzzing. I'm very excited, especially for this episode, because I'm a man of my word, and when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So me declaring to literally my entire audience what I'm planning to do this year, it means I'm gonna have to do it. There's no turning back.
Because what we can do in a year's time, everyone listening, we're all going to come back to this episode next January and be like, right, what did he do that he said he was going to do?
Yes, let's do
no
that
pressure
checklist.
at all.
That checklist. Come on, keep me motivated, gang.
So,
yes, let's start with how we met. Shall we?
Yes.
Because despite this great synergy, we have known each other for now a little bit over 4 months, right?
Yeah, because the Sonicon sort of almost concludes that.
It does conclude an era. That is true. You are correct in that. I think the first half of the year for me, leading up to Sonicon, was a very difficult one when it comes to artist journeys. I think it was the first time since I started about 20 years ago that I actually questioned, is this still what I want to do?
Yeah.
And it came about from a multitude of things. It came about from lack of sales because of our economy. It came about from the lack of attendance at some major events, which I feel like it is absolutely no one's fault. You know, it just happens to be one of those things. It is what it is. Sometimes it happens. But also I had a fair few interactions with people within the community, more so with certain artists that really hurt my mental health to a point where I didn't want to look at my socials anymore. I didn't want to post on TikTok anymore. I just didn't want to be a part of this very petty narrative that they started, and it sucked. I stopped drawing. I did not draw anything for about 6 months, which for me is massive. Imagine telling Sonic not to run for 6 months. You know, it's what I do.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. And it was strange and it was surreal. I made posts on my private social media saying that I didn't think that I would last the year in terms of doing art. I went as far as not booking many conventions for this year because everything is booked a year in advance.
Yeah.
And I missed those convention booking dates with intent. I just did not want to do them anymore. And it was not the best time. I will fully admit. The bright side of it was the amount of outpour from people who have absolutely nothing to gain from me to continue doing this type of work, but they still checked in, still kept asking how I was doing, still kept asking if I was working on anything, if I was drawing anything, what event will I be next, so they can come and give me a hug. There were a lot of people on social media showing up at events and telling me, oh, I didn't even know you were here. You haven't announced that you were coming,
Yeah.
you know? And yeah, it was a very weird start of the year where after 19-ish years of doing this full speed ahead, I just decided to free fall and not be a part of it for a while. But within that free fall, obviously, there's merit in it because with anything in the art world, you kind of need to find time to take a step back. Because once you do take a step back, once you stop looking at your work, and it did come to a point where I was it is sad to say, Jay, that I'd walk into my office and see my prints on the wall and didn't want to look at it anymore. However, putting it all away, put everything in boxes, did not look or talk art fandoms, did not do anything except for playing video games and traveling and doing different type of work that took my mind off of what we are surrounded by now. And coming back to it later in the year, I did a wonderful trip of 3 weeks. That is something I have never done, even though I've done so many cons and so many events. I packed suitcases, I planned for boxes to be shipped from place to place, and then friends helped me travel with my luggage and everything. And I went to Scotland for 2 weeks. I did HorrorCon there, which was a one afternoon event. It was a one afternoon event. It was from maybe like 10:30, 11ish to
Mm.
4 o'clock. And
Wow.
I did more money there than I did at 3 day events in the beginning of the year.
Wow.
And then I did Acme, rest in peace. We're not going to tackle that today. And Acme was really good. It was good energy. Everyone was cordial. There was none of that drama that I mentioned earlier. And then finally, SonicCon. And something happened in SonicCon, which I can't quite explain it, but it reminded me exactly why I love doing what I love doing. The enthusiasm was there. The people were looking at art and buying art like crazy. Everyone was so enthusiastic about what was going on
Mhm.
versus
Yeah.
so many conventions in the beginning of the year were very like everyone was there, but they weren't there, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. They were present, but they weren't participating in the same way that they did before. They were just hanging out and
Yeah.
chilling. And that's fine. But we
Yeah.
put too much effort into what we do to be okay with people just hanging out in front of us and not really participating in the ambient, right?
Yeah.
But SonicCon changed my outlook on so much stuff. And it was a massive learning experience because it was also the first time where I decided to help actively as a volunteer during an event while simultaneously exhibiting at the event.
Yeah. Which
So
is wild.
I helped set up everything that I could help set up when they were giving out tickets. I helped move things about for the AV room and the stages. We set up the room where Bentley was at with all the other guests and prepared it for the next day. I was there to greet Bentley when he arrived, which was very exciting for me. And then the next day, just go with all the selling and all the interactions and
Yeah.
all the fantastic cosplays and everything, and meeting some wonderful people. And at the end of that day, as soon as we finished, packed as quickly as I could because I had to help Kay dismantle everything before the after party.
Yeah.
And it was the most singularly exhausting experience of my life. Um, I felt faint walking.
Yeah.
That is how tired Kay and I were. We were wobbling walking down the corridors of the pendulum, but it was the most satisfying experience I ever had in a convention.
And I can say the same from the other side as someone attending it, because in a weird sort of parallel, like I would say I was for those who don't know, I run a social media called Sonic Cage Dome. I used to run a YouTube channel and podcast. I still run a podcast, another podcast, but I used to run a YouTube channel called The Sonic Show. And slowly from 2018 onwards, sort of passion for it sort of has slowly tapered off. So much so that there was another Sonic themed convention, I think the previous year, which was dedicated to Sonic the comic, which I was very much invited to go along to. And just something in me said, no, I think there were financial reasons and all this sort of stuff could make it work. But I think the fact that I took as soon as any obstacle came up, I was like, I guess I can't do it then. Like there was no fight in me to like be involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very hesitant about going to another convention because, again, I felt so distant from my own community and felt like a bit uninspired creatively. And then SonicCon was just so good. It was just so good. And there are faces I recognize, and I forgot what it's like to just be reunited with those people. And I forgot the joy of making new friends and meeting new people. And like you said, the atmosphere there was really something else. Really something else. Like everyone was so enthusiastic to be there. Everyone was so enthusiastic about what was going on. The dealers hall was insane. It was so busy, like all the time. Like,
Yeah.
and people just genuinely excited to see all the wares, everything going on. People so excited to see cosplay and meet the guests and even go in the gaming room. Every stage that had something going on, who were there in those rooms were so enthusiastic and having a great time. And it was an opportunity for me to, one, remember why conventions are actually important. Two, remember that actually I do want to be involved again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And before we go into the us meeting at SonicCon, what you said about not having that fight and just, something came up and you were invited to something that would otherwise have been fantastic, but the motivation just was so not there that you decided to take the first obstacle and be like, oh, I guess I can't go. I guess that is kind of what happened to me as well in terms of when I dealt with the social media thing. And I do want to say, because I don't know who is going to be listening to this, I don't blame any person in particular for anything whatsoever. The reality is that, like you said, you were at a point where the wind wasn't in the sails anymore, and I was feeling so low in my work and in everything that I was doing because there were lack of sales and things weren't going nearly as good as I am used to. That the first hit of something unexpected, I just threw in the towel. I didn't want to deal with it. My mental health was not it.
Okay.
Right. And I empathize deeply with what you said about wanting to just give it up, which is sad because it is such a core part of who we are
Yes.
creating.
Yes.
For me and for you, the social media aspect of covering all things Sonic, and you are exceptional at it, and you're exceptional at working in social media and working with media in general. I mean, you set this podcast up with absolutely no notice. Literally a handful of days ago, I was like, we're doing it now. And we had nothing. And suddenly we have outlines and we have whatever this website is called. I don't even know. I am not technologically inclined, right? And you built it out of nothing. So the idea, just like how sad it is for anyone listening or for yourself to think, I have built what I've built for my art stuff, and I wanted to give it up. It is immensely sad for me to know that you are as skilled as you are and as talented as you are in doing this and wanting to give that up. But luckily, there was a plot twist.
What?
Shock.
There was, yes. And I think, again, one of my biggest takeaways from SonicCon, I mentioned meeting new people and actually making key connections with other creatives that are now going to affect the rest of my year, the next 12 months, which is
Mhm.
insane. Just by one event, which I could have not gone to. I could have just said, I'm not doing it. And by going, I have Jake and Kay, for those who don't know, are the organizers of SonicCon. Um,
Yep.
you know,
Known as Raku events.
yes, we're now collaborating and working on stuff, and that's very exciting. Of course, yourself via Sonicon have now this exists. This thing we're doing right now.
Yeah, one chance encounter at a
Yes.
convention.
And again, I think for me anyway, and I really stress this to people who because I get it, like sometimes you don't want to interact with people and it is difficult, and sometimes you're just a bit like, oh, do I have to? And everything feels like a chore. But actually, being in that space at Sonicon and speaking to yourself, for example, and your energy, because you, like you said, you were so alive and on fire by the energy around the room and how encouraged people were, and that the environment the Raku events had sort of nurtured
Yeah,
for the first Sonic event they did, which is crazy.
yeah,
Um, and actually seeing another creative then creatives feed off each other. It's just the thing that happens.
yeah.
Instantly, yeah, from that moment, I was like, okay, this is an energy that is making me feel creative and vice versa. And from there, it sort of snowballed where it's a collaborative team now in many ways.
It is. It is. It's definitely, like I said last time, it's a convention family. And the more you put into it, the more you receive. That is the beautiful thing about this. Yeah. I am very grateful for all the hard work that Raku events have put into this convention. And genuinely, I know they aren't children, right? But they are my babies in a way.
Yeah,
I met Jake when Jake was literally the youngest exhibiting artist at a major event after just turning 19.
yeah,
And within 5 years, actually within less, because Raku events started with RakuCon,
yeah,
and RakuCon is now going on to its fourth year. So within 3 years of doing conventions, Jake and Kay have created a successful chain of conventions where artists of different levels of experience
yeah,
have met. The beauty of SonicCon is not just there were people from all backgrounds and all ages who absolutely love Sonic, it's also artists who have never exhibited who you would think have like 20 years of experience selling at conventions. My table neighbor, Space Colonies, is potentially one of the most exquisite artists I have ever met in my life. And I absolutely cannot wait to. I'm jumping the gun talking about this here, but I cannot wait to see them again in November because they are excellent, fantastic art. They had never exhibited. They've always just kept their work to themselves. And it was crazy. There was an actual queue formed in front of their table of about 10 people at a time to go and buy prints. Crazy.
every time I went in that room, every listener, please take heed of this. Every time in that room, and bear in mind, as Jill just said, never exhibited before. I wanted to buy something from that table. I wanted to buy a particular poster, which is now up on my wall, just out of sight, a foil print. And could I get to that table at any point? The queue continuously never dropped. It was always insane.
So
Every
happy
time
for
I
them.
thought, I'll come back later. An hour later, it's still a massive queue. And then at one point, I just sat down. I was like, I guess I'm in the queue now. And I'm glad I did.
Yes, I am absolutely so happy for them. It fills me with all the joy because they were cordial to everyone. They
Yeah.
were really excited. They were there with their partner, I believe. Excuse me if I was wrong, Space Colonies. But you just couldn't not love their work, and in turn could not be happy that so many people were losing their shit over these amazing prints. I'm buzzing. And it wasn't just one artist. There were so many new faces there. And it was also the first time that I ever sold anything Sonic related, which is
Yes.
exciting in itself. And now I feel like 80% of my life is Sonic.
Yes, that's all been thrust upon you now, I must admit. There is no way out.
It went from I will draw a couple of designs because okay, so let me tell you the story, the full story. Let's
Yes.
go with the tea, right? So Illustrator Jake is a very close friend of mine, and Illustrator Jake wanted to do a convention for one of their, if not their, biggest love when it comes to gaming, when it comes to fandoms, so on and so forth.
Yes.
And I was asked to draw some things, because the clause to join SonicCon was to have a portion of your table that is dedicated to Sonic, which is rightfully so. I do not contest that whatsoever. So I was trying to think what I could do, what can I do, what I can do. And I remember the very first time I've ever did a art collaboration with another artist on DeviantArt back in 2017. Um, it was not 2017. What am I saying? 2007.
That's a big difference.
Back in 2007, there was this lovely artist, Rockgara from Barcelona, who worked in a gaming shop run by her mom and dad. And on the side, she would do all these lovely ink drawings. And she asked me if I would color one of her drawings. And I said I would absolutely love to. And it was a low-key kind of yaoi, but not really. A picture of Shadow dressed as a fireman, holding a jacket over his shoulder and an axe. And I'm like, yeah, we will do this. So when Jake said, can you draw something for SonicCon? I'm like, I don't know what to do because I feel like this event is just not like any other convention you go
Yeah.
to. It's not about drawing a picture of a character and that you love and that's it. It needs to have meaning. It needs to
Yeah.
have purpose.
Yeah.
So I decided to redraw that very first collaboration from almost 2 decades ago, where most of the people there weren't even born. And and it went down really well. And then after drawing Fireman Shadow, I also drew a police officer Rouge to go with it. And that sold out within the first few hours
Yeah.
of the event. It was such a hit design. And it still is a hit design. I have taken it to at least two other conventions since, and it has sold out every time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, massive wake up call, and it just showed me also from a artist convention perspective that big conventions aren't necessarily the way forward.
And amazingly, because of SonicCon, like I said, like I think everyone who went to SonicCon probably also felt this like just good energy and like I think a lot of people took a lot of inspiration from that experience.
Yeah,
Um, and my goodness, in the short few months following to round up 2024, I think SonicCon affected us both in amazing ways. Like we talked about the struggles you had with conventions and stuff.
yeah,
And then we compare that to like the last MCM you did of the year,
Yeah,
which was just like creatively wild, ambitious, collaborating
yeah,
with more people, like our friends, like printing like rabbits and doing these things and putting new content to create awareness and stuff and just doing all
yeah.
these things and having in turn it paying off. And for myself as well, actually getting more involved in doing the stuff that I hadn't done for ages, like getting back into creative editing and video making and
Hmm.
podcast editing, which has worked
Yeah,
out quite well for this. And
very well.
it's quite interesting how in those last few months post Sonicon, just everything went like whoop, in terms
It
of
has. It has. It is wonderful to experience a resurgence in energy when you almost fall back in love with what you do and what you've set out to accomplish when you started on this journey. And I will not shy away from saying that I don't think I would have this oomph and this motivation for this upcoming year were it not for yourself with all your help that you have given me for my social media, tips on what to post, when to post it, keeping people in the loop of what I'm actually doing rather than being so focused on my drawing that I forget that you need to connect with your audience at all time, because if you don't give them that lifeline, they're not going to know what you're
uh,
doing and what you're up to. And at the same time, connecting in the same level of friendship and understanding and working with each other with Rob from Printing Like Rabbits. We have worked together on bringing the Has Been Hotel Ducks to MCM Birmingham, where he was not exhibiting. We discussed the idea of creating life-size props, which started as an absolute gag between us, and suddenly there's a life-size Sonic standing on my table that brought countless people with countless different energies and experiences. Honestly, that was so surreal within itself. And we made that lovely video with the Lucifer duck together. It was like a joint effort between three people. And it all that is what has me motivated and what has me excited for 2025, because we are now at an understanding that we know the way we interact helps Rob do better. The way you two interact with me helps me do better. The way we interact with you helps you do better. And sometimes that is what you need, because sales as an artist are a wonderful thing, right? Compliments on the internet are needed when you need to keep yourself disciplined as a small business, as an
yeah,
independent creator. But finding those people to work with and allowing you to not feel alone in
uh,
this somewhat isolated space of working on your own on this
uh,
kind of stuff, it really pushes you forward
yeah,
to possibilities you did not think possible, like attending movie premieres in London.
wild, wild,
Wild.
wild.
Wild. Who does that? Who goes and sits in a movie with fucking Keanu Reeves and Jim Carrey? What?
Uh,
Wild.
for those who don't know, we were both invited by Paramount Pictures to the Sonic the Hedgehog free movie world premiere in London's Leicester Square. Walk the blue carpet, which I think in a weird way sort of summed up nicely for me. I don't know, just how well the year had concluded. Felt like
100%.
yeah, like this is a recognition of stuff paying off.
Easily the
Yeah,
most surreal and exciting experience. And just like I said about being in a free fall in a negative space, that was being in a free fall in just allowing the goodness of hard work to just wash over you and soak it in and
yeah,
experience. We felt like absolute superstars that night.
yeah. I think that's a good piece of advice as well. And I think anyone who's listening who might be struggling with their own creative output and stuff, I think one is when things are going well, enjoy it. Like just
Yes,
appreciate it.
definitely.
Don't, it's so easy to be like, yeah, great, whatever, it's going well, but what's next? And you should think forward always. But
Always.
if you're only thinking forward, then you're not appreciating the successes you do have. So there is no shame in basking in that for a moment and just we work hard.
Hmm.
I think some people might think it's egotistical, some people might think it's a bit self-centered, but no, you worked hard. You should recognize that and appreciate that.
Hmm.
Because the reality of the world we live in is that's not always guaranteed. There
Yeah.
will be times again where things are down, and it will be. I'm glad that the movie Premiere is a good example. Is I can
Hmm.
look back and go like, I'm glad that I really appreciated that time. You were touching on having a creative family is the way I would view it basically.
Hmm.
That's a really good way of encouraging each other and just sort of keeping that creative energy going.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you think you've learned in the last year that people might value as a nugget of knowledge in terms of anything that sort of you can look back and go, that helped me overcome some of the obstacles that I was facing?
I would say that the biggest thing I've learned this year is even when the situation was extremely dire and I turned my back to what I love doing, which is art, taking that time away from it only reinforced just how much deep down I knew that that is what I was meant to do. And I got myself a different job, and it was still creative, but it was not this. And this is where my strong suit actually is. And coming back to it after a time away, after a few months away, I feel like even my work has improved. I feel like not doing it for a while, I have gotten better, and I feel more confident in it, and I feel happier with it. But more importantly, I think as artists, as creatives in general, but also as neurodivergent people, as burnt out gifted children, as so many different things, we feel like we need to go at it alone because it's our business and because this is my thing, and why would someone else want to help me? Because this is my burden, why would someone else need to be burdened by it? Because it is my job and someone else shouldn't have to do my job for me. That is a lie. That is a lie we are guilted into believing by either people who don't actually care
Yeah,
or by people who are just not invested enough to be there.
yeah,
However, you will always find around you people who actually will go the extra mile to help you when you're feeling lost and when you're feeling isolated. There will always be people who genuinely believe in what you do to remind you that that is your goal and your purpose. And sometimes we will say, oh, there isn't anyone. There just isn't.
yeah,
But I don't think that's the case. I think the case is that maybe you're so deep down in that free fall that you're not listening to them anymore. And I was there for a fair few months. The funniest thing I was told this year was from a very good friend of mine who I cherish very deeply. We sat in silence after I explained that I was doing different work and so on. And he said, is this what it means to have a midlife crisis? And I'm like, rude, but fact. I think so. I guess I don't. Damn. But I have found my footing again. And I hope that whoever is out there who's ever struggling with this creative slump, if you're struggling with feeling like your creativity has hit a wall and you can't go beyond it, have a break. Give time to yourself to do something different. Because if this is what you were meant to do, if this is what your body and brain want and crave, after a couple of weeks, after a month or two, you will find yourself just so eager to come back to it. And you will do it better than before because you have allowed your hands, your brain, your mind, your soul to rest from it for a little while. And you'll come back stronger. I think that is my gift of knowledge, my pearl of wisdom,
pearl of wisdom.
my pearl.
I think it's a
What
very
about you? How do you what is your biggest takeaway from this year? How do you feel you have grown most in 2024?
I think I've remembered the importance of, I think it's something we touched on a lot, but the importance of not feeling you have to do it alone. I think, and actually really embracing the concept of being with others and collaborating and just enjoying the company of other people as well. Like, I think it inspires you as well. And I think the different approach I've taken now, being back more involved in work and sort of creative work that I do, which is more video stuff, things like that, is I think now I can compare it to where I was at when I didn't want to do it anymore. And
Hmm.
I think the biggest point was it all felt like a chore. It felt like there was no enjoyment in it.
Hmm.
And now I always try and go into any work I do with what do I want to do? What inspires me? What is fun for me to do? What do I want to do? Because I don't want to go back to a place where I have to look at, I think, because a lot of this is the joy of a lot of creative work is we could sort of navigate within certain boundaries, but we do have the ability to navigate what our portfolio is, what it looks like, because it should be a
Hmm.
reflection on us. And I think that's
Hmm.
probably the key thing is because it became a chore, because I was just doing things because I felt like I had to do them. It was no longer a reflection of me as a person. It was
Yeah.
just and stuff that existed because I felt like I was obliged to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and now when I do something, even if it's not something I would instinctively do, maybe I've been commissioned to do something that is not a deep passion of mine, for example, or
Hmm.
instantly. But now the approach is, well, how do I bring myself into it? And that's where I find joy. And actually, because I want to think everything I've made, regardless of what the theme or subject is, everything you can go out the other end of it and go, oh, that's clearly mine. That's something I've
Hmm.
produced. Because you can tell because it shows my passion, my unique personality, regardless of what it is. And
Yeah.
I think that approach has really helped me enjoy it again.
Yeah. I'm glad. I am glad. As someone who has lost that love and found it again, I am genuinely happy for you.
So, 2020.
Not bad at all. It was a very messy year, but it ended out on the most fantastic final four or 5 months of the year. They were good. They were good. It might have been the poorest I've been for a while, but it ended up being the most alive I felt in a very long time. Once I got out of that bad headspace that I had in the first 4 months of the year, it just took off. You know, and there's so many little bits throughout the year that I'm not even mentioning. I had surgery in my back. I did all sorts of things. I traveled a lot to find. I did some soul searching by traveling. I went to visit Jake and Kay up in Nottingham. I was on a big train journey on my own for the very first time because this foreign boy finds traveling on the train long distances very anxious inducing, anxiety inducing, and terrifying, but I did. I did it quite a few times this year, actually. And yeah, it was a messy year, but I definitely felt the most alive. And I feel like it's just going to remain the same, especially for everything we have planned for
Yes.
2025.
So, yes, and I would wholeheartedly agree, which I think is a good time for a break.
Yes. Kit Kat! I am starving. Manager, food please. No one's coming.
And we're back. Um, we are back, and we've talked about 2024. There's a duck in the podcast. We're talking about 2024, and if you need to be watching the video podcast, guys, head over to Spotify, have a listen.
Yes.
We've done 2024. We love
Hmm.
2024 overall.
Yeah. Good year overall.
As an overall year, very good.
Yeah.
But we're not in that year anymore. It's
No, we're not.
2025 now. We are now in a new year. New year, new me.
Yeah.
And
Savage Army.
we have 12 months of it to go,
Yep,
which feels daunting, but also no time at all at the same time.
it will just go by like
Um,
that.
it really will. But we talked so much about how we're inspired and creative, and I think it's a good chance to share with our lovely listeners. Actually, well, I'm sure they're asking, okay, so you had a good year. You say you're all
Mhm,
creative and you have all these amazing ideas. What are
mhm.
they, bitch? Tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think individually we've got quite a lot going on, which is quite exciting. I'm quite excited for those who are familiar with my work. I do another podcast because why not have as many as you can? And that's been dormant for so long. But in the last month has really kicked up a gear. And my plan is going forward into 2025. I see more podcast episodes for that show. It's called The Opinion Zone, a Sonic the
Hmm.
Hedgehog podcast, and we've
Yep.
got interviews lined up. It's really, really exciting. I would highly recommend if you like Sonic the Hedgehog, you do give it a listen. And it's been great to make connections with people for interviews and stuff like that again. So I'm just very grateful that that's something that's in my
Hmm.
plans for the next year. And of course, among many other things, is things like this podcast. So I'm just going to be doing podcasts all day. And actually, one of the things I'm most excited for about this year is, yes, I'll continue what I've already done. So I run a social media thing called Sonic Cage Dome. I will continue doing that because I love it so much. But I'm quite interested in doing more, trying out more things with it. We recently did a reel and a TikTok, for example, that was very different to what we've done on that channel in a while. And it was really well received. So it's made me think about what different creative ideas can we try. So that's what I'm definitely thinking about is how can we try new stuff? And I'm very excited
Yeah.
about that. But the other thing I'm excited about is I feel like this is a year where my skills can be used for others. And there are many things out there in the world right now that I have worked on. You have no idea, but it's been quite exciting this to think that going forward this year, there's a few things in place where actually I'm just providing my skills to other people's projects and
Hmm.
providing my knowledge and what I know and to uplift their stuff. And
And it is knowledge and skills that are very much needed because only because you are in a creative space, only because you're an artist, does not mean you know how to do everything that needs doing. And video editing and taking the time to present your content in a way that it is as good as it deserves to be does not come easy. But you make it look easy.
I try. But yeah, it's very much that. And I think the one big thing that sort of oversees all of it in terms of all the different things I have planned for the next year is, and the reason why this podcast exists and why we're doing this is, I would like to see by the end of 2025,
Hmm.
Sonic Cage Dome, which is my baby,
Hmm.
have a much more fuller presence in conventions. And
Yeah.
I really think like each time there's a new convention coming around, we're going to take a bigger step to making it a thing where people who like Sonic will know. They'll know that there will be a place there representing every Sonic desire. What about you, Lucifer? What's your plans for 2025? Ah, you can't do that. You can't say that. You can't say that. That's outrageous. No, you can't do that. We'll get arrested. No, I can't believe he said that, and involving children as well. I'm saying,
Wow, not the children.
not the children.
Save the children.
Would
Protect the children. Hmm. Baby.
What about your 2025 then?
Mine.
Yeah.
Go away, Lucifer. I'm joking, kidding, little bird. Um, so, my plans for 2025. There is genuinely so much going on that I cannot verbalize everything that I am working on. It is literally impossible for me to explain it. We would need hours of podcast for me to explain everything I'm working on. However, to summarize everything, I am taking the first 2 months of the year to catch up on those 6 months hiatus that I had. There's a lot of social media things that need fixing. There's a lot of like online presences that needs to be updated. My website needs a little bit of a revamp. My different stores that I used to sell on, my fair shop, blah 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 blah. All that needs a little bit of a revamp. But I'm also taking time to help my friend Printing Like Rabbits to get his website and his social media up to snuff. We're doing a few bits for the upcoming convention that we're going to. We're going to make sure that his display, his banner, his logo, all that stuff is all up to snuff. So I'm taking the first month and a half to just prepare basically groundwork that will then be used throughout the rest of the year. I'm also concluding a list of t-shirt designs that I've listed. People who have been following my work have seen that I've been doing a lot of Sonic t-shirts and a lot of Has Been Hotel t-shirts, a lot of current anime fandom t-shirts. So I have a list that I am chipping away at that, and hopefully by March time, that will be settled and then on to new and bigger and better things. I have also not designed an enamel pin since 2022, and it is crazy. So I am coming back with so many new designs. I'm going to be working on Has Been Hotel pins. I'm going to be working on Hell of a Boss pins. I'm going to be working on concluding my Demon Slayer pins. I am releasing this set of Five Nights at Freddy pins that have been sitting on my hard drive since before the movie came out, which is crazy because now the movie's old. Crazy, right? And I'm planning on bringing the Cubby Beanie hat back. Talking about Cubby, I will be working on a lot of Cubbyverse things. In case you don't know what Cubbyverse is, the Cubbyverse is my own creation. It is a universe based around my main character, Cubby, who is my mascot that you might see down here. And there he is. He's chilling. He's listening to the podcast, and as you should be doing too. Though if you're listening to this, you
You
probably are listening to it.
probably are, yeah.
Yes. And I want to flesh out that universe a little bit more. Fun fact, we even found a way to integrate our podcast into the Cubbyverse. So this is actually canon. We are canonically part of the Cubbyverse. I want to and I want to make sure that I get the ball rolling on all the things that have been a little bit stagnant. And there is a list. I have a list of 163 items that I need to do. But that is an all-inclusive list of all the things that I need to do for myself, for my own business, for other people's business, friends I want to help out, so on and so forth. And once that is done, then it is roaming free like Sonic in Green Hills. I'm also thinking about potentially moving. I'm thinking of moving to Manchester because the scene there allows for more weekend events, which I think would be helpful for me as a creator, but also it is a little bit cheaper to live and it compared to where I'm at anyway. And a lot of my friends live in that area or live further up north. So it would allow me to have some remnants of a social life because right now I literally only see people when I'm at a convention and we don't want to spiral again into, that abyss. But yeah, it is work, work, work for me. I have lots of things prepared. And talking about making new pins, we are also going to be working together on a Kickstarter campaign. The first Kickstarter campaign that I am doing in a long time that is new, fresh, and has new pins in it, again, since 2022. That was the last
Wild.
time I made new Kickstarter pins. And this is going to be a collection of 8 Sonic enamel pins in collaboration between Gilbone and Sonic Cage Dome. And it is going to be exciting because It is so different from what I've worked on in the past. If you're familiar with my enamel pins, I do a lot of cat girl and cat boy pins. My collection called Nyanya Neko started back in 2018 and caught like wildfire. And I have about a little over 300 enamel pin designs in my portfolio now. And the first time I am designing something that doesn't quite fit that mold, and it's immensely challenging. It is like the most challenging pins I've ever designed, which is so weird because Sonic designs are actually simple. They are so uniquely stylized that it is very difficult to stray too far from the
Yeah.
source material, but we will work it out. We're also going to work on beanie hats for Sonic and Shadow, though one of them, surprise, surprise, is going to be also in collaboration between us and SonicCon UK.
Yes.
We are also working together with Printing Like Rabbits. We are going to be attending some conventions together with Printing Like Rabbits, and we are going to be creating this amalgamation of social media meets life-size characters. There's going to be a life-size Alastor from Hazbin Hotel. There's going to be a life-size Lucifer from Hazbin Hotel. There's going to be backdrops with hell, literal hell is going to be behind us. And all you have to do is come to our tables at these events and take photos and have fun and meet us. And hopefully, maybe you will decide to support our work, but it's not necessity. We just want you to have a fantastic time.
Yeah.
And we are throwing everything we have at this year. It is going to be great. It
It's going
is
to be so good.
crazy.
I think what we have planned in collaboration is gonna wow people. If I'm being
I
honest,
would hope so.
the things I know that are coming to these conventions, like again between ourselves and also the amazingly talented Printer Like Rabbits, like it's just so exciting. I'm so excited and can't wait for people to see. And not only are we very, very, what's the word? Enthusiastic. That's the word. That's the word I wanted. And not only very enthusiastic about what we're bringing to many, many conventions this year, we're actually now crazily, we were just talking so much about how much we love SonicCon UK. We're now like part of the team for next year as well.
We are helping out as best as we can with our knowledge, and we both can't wait to be there. London is going to be 10 times bigger than it was last year.
It's because I think because it gave me so much joy and has so much meaning to me as a convention now that I'm so grateful that Jake and Kay have even allowed the space for us to support in any way that we can, because it really feels like the least I can do as a way of saying thank you for everything they've done, maybe unintentionally, but everything they've done to sort of bring this creative world back to life. So yeah, for anyone who, like I mentioned in the previous episode, I was part of a team called Summer of Sonic, and not to boast, it was the world's most popular Sonic convention for its time. It was the gold standard. I genuinely, hand on heart, mean this. SonicCon is the next iteration of that.
I think so.
Easily, it will be the gold standard of like dedicated Sonic conventions, and people aren't ready. They're not ready. It's gonna be amazing.
Even today, even to every day, we are pouring more and more into both our Kickstarter, into this. Obviously, we are recording right now. This is important as well for 2025 because we didn't mention it. But I think you listening right now understand that we are putting a lot of effort into this one. But also, I just had a wonderful conversation with Printing Like Rabbits, who made Lucifer, and the ideas that we have for SonicCon is just so absolutely wild. I genuinely don't think people are prepared for how big and amazing it's going to be.
And I think if you follow us along on this journey on this podcast, you will, I think, come along for the journey of what happens and the challenges and the exciting things we have planned. I think it's going to be really interesting. One thing I'm excited about this podcast for the next 12 months is, again, I think it's going to be a personal journey for myself in terms of understanding conventions better and how I could be more involved, as well as the journey of SonicCon at the end of the year. But then also, it'll be really interesting for me personally to use this platform as an opportunity to speak to guests and other people and see their wisdom and their insight. I think it's
Hmm.
going to be very eye opening. I can't wait.
Yep. My most exciting plan for the podcast in terms of what I'm looking forward to in 2025 is approaching colleagues and approaching people who have not necessarily had a chance or opportunity to sit down and have a conversation to their audience or with their audience in this scale
Hmm.
and share their convention experience, share their history, where they came from, what they're aspiring for, their ups and downs, and I want to provide that for them. Not just artists, cosplayers, attendees, photographers, and I'm sure if we ask very nicely, we might even get an organizer or two to talk with us. And
I think so. I reckon so.
yeah,
I just want to say to everyone listening, like, obviously we've spoken a lot about last year and the year coming ahead, but like, I imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you're either a fellow creative or a fellow convention goer. Like,
yeah,
we're all a collection of conventioneers, and I think whatever you have going, whatever your ambitions are for the next year,
yeah.
I think this is the right time of year to look back at the last 12 months, pat yourself on the back because whatever happened, you got through it. We're now in 2025. It's all good. And really think about what do you want to make of this year and actually share it with us. Tell us in the comments, post it on social media. We want to know.
Let us know.
Yeah,
Let us know what you are most looking forward to working towards and accomplishing in 2025.
absolutely.
Because we believe in you.
We do. Because you're great. We're going to
Yeah.
do this journey together. It's going to be good. Until we do that, until we read all these wonderful things, I suggest we take another break before we go into some things that have caught our eye in the last week.
Yeah. Go, 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 go.
We're back. Hooray. That, yes. We're back.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. And we're introducing a new segment. Already, we're only on episode 2.
Yes.
And we're already like new bits. They're not ready.
Yes.
And what we want to do is we're just going to check in with you guys once in a while and let you know what our current hyperfixation is. And
Yes.
it's just things
Weekly
we
hyperfixation.
exactly things we are obsessively enjoying, thinking about, taking inspiration from, and everyone has them. We all have our hyperfixations. We
Yes,
all have our
especially in
moments.
this universe, like in conventions and fandoms, we just shift through hyperfixations like there's no tomorrow.
So I'm curious. I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
just feign surprise for you.
Okay.
What could your hyperfixation be?
My current hyperfixation is the Arcane soundtrack because what? What? Because firstly, I am absolutely obsessed with Arcane. Arcane is, in my opinion, easily one of the best animated stories ever told, with a brilliant soundtrack, brilliant direction, brilliant character writing. However, there is something about the soundtrack that once it hits you, it is catchy. It just lives rent free in your head. And it also made me recognize that Linkin Park are back with a vengeance. And I grew up on Linkin Park, and that made me kind of spiral into Linkin Park with Arcane, and that's it. I listen to the Arcane soundtrack morning to evening while I'm drawing, literally all day.
You really do.
It's just in my head all the time, and I'm working and I'm just humming it when I'm not listening to it. Yeah. And sidebar, goal for the year is getting that Arcane art book. I need to have it. I haven't bought
Yes.
an art book in years, but I need that. Like I need air to breathe.
Just like air.
Genuine.
Just like air.
Just like air.
Yes, I
What
can
about
say.
you?
What about me? Well,
Yes. What is your hyperfixation of the week?
so picture the scene, right?
Fun.
No.
Okay.
What?
Shocking.
Picture the scene. I am
Mhm.
editing a lot of videos currently. I've got a
Yes.
backlog of videos to do, and I'm working my little tail off getting them done. It's the best I
Yes.
can do. And, you know, there's the creative process behind it. Sometimes you
Okay.
have to render the same video 7 times because there's a glitch and you just can't work out why it's not working. And it's
That
just,
sounds like the worst.
it does sound the worst. It can really kill your soul a bit, but it's worth it in the end.
Okay.
While that's all going on, while I'm editing away, I usually
Mhm.
will have like a music in the background with no words, so it doesn't distract me from whatever I'm editing.
Yeah.
But this week, and in fact probably since Christmas, to be honest, I've been watching a particular YouTube channel, and it's not like an indie crazy one. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the YouTube channel Smosh.
Okay.
And they have a like sub channel called Smosh Games and Smosh Pit, and it's basically a group of comedians and improvisers who are a part of this channel, and they just play board games, and it's so funny.
That's really cool.
It's just because they're so creatively funny, and they just dive into the stupid of it. I have a sticker set from them, and again, to give you, I have one sticker which is my favorite, and to give you an idea of just how off the wall it can be, it's from a video they did about playing Mario Kart, and the sticker is a logo for the Catfish Cabin. That's how unhinged it is. But I think what I like about it is, one, I can just listen to them talk. I will marathon videos all day. I will just watch it all day. But also, I think it's made me realize that is my dream video gig. If I could just turn around tomorrow and say, I run a YouTube channel and it's doing really well, and I have a cast of people in the studio, that is the content I'd be making.
Okay.
Yeah. So watching that is, in a weird way, like, just nice, because that's not my reality right now. I love my reality right now in terms of my career and what I'm doing creatively. But if it could be, you know, the perfected view, it would be,
Of course,
it would be Smosh Games. So currently, I watch it day and night. It's my comfort blanket right now.
I'll have to check them out. I'll have to check it out. And it's always good to have a goal to aspire to, because you know where the end game is, where your head needs to be. And the more you see that in focus, the more you push yourself to get there.
Yeah. I agree.
That's a good one. It makes my Arcane soundtrack feel very like less thought out. But I am obsessed with it.
Guys, you don't appreciate, like, we when we're like having meetings, planning stuff and stuff, he'll just be singing, humming to himself.
I don't even know the words. I'm just destroying the song. But I love it so much.
So that's the hyperfixation is. We're very fixated on both those things, which bring us great joy.
100%. Serotonin, 100%. Please.
100%. So I think the only right thing to do right now is to challenge that serotonin with a life-changing decision.
Not another one.
Guys,
PB's in a pickle again.
PB, it's time. We're going to give him a pickle. It's PB's pickle, because he's going to have to choose it or lose it.
Oh, God. Help.
Ladies
Lucifer,
and gentlemen.
give me some angelic power. Help me. Okay, we're ready.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems and pals, this is my favourite segment. It's the segment where I, a talented young man, provide Gilles, a wise old man, a dilemma that he must choose between. And
shady bitch.
He has to decide,
literally,
does he choose it or does he lose it? And every time we do this, I paint a very unique scenario, so different from the last.
Yeah.
And we decide, can he choose it? And can he lose it? Yeah. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Am I on the edge of a cliff?
No.
Because it's a unique scenario, so I'm waiting.
You're on the edge of a mountain.
Why? Let's put you here, buddy.
And on your left is every has-been hotel / hell of a boss design you've ever made.
Okay.
Just the boxes of the prints, the t-shirts,
I know where you're going with this, and if you say what you think I'm saying...
A file, a hard drive, I know, with every Photoshop file ever. On your other side...
You're crossing a line.
On the other side is a pile of every Sonic design you've ever done in your life.
The line has been
Every Sonic
trampled
design
over.
you've ever done, every t-shirt, every print, as well as another hard drive, because, you know, the cloud doesn't exist in this universe, and with every family. And basically, you've got to decide which one to keep and which one to push off the mountain, bearing in mind that once it's off the mountain, you can never make anything from that franchise ever again. So you're basically saying, I'm going to bin my Has-Been Hell of a Boss stuff forever and never touch it again, or I'm going to bin all my Sonic stuff and never touch it again.
Go on. That's cruel.
Well, apparently the last one was so easy.
These are my children.
Yeah.
Creating there's so many hours and effort gone into creating things. You cannot tell me to dump half. We talked about how amazing 2024 was, and you're essentially asking me if you had to dump half of 2024, which one was it?
You gotta choose it or lose it, buddy.
Okay, the only way I can possibly properly answer this, right, is what do I see myself drawing more of in the long run? Because, let's face it, I just described what a weird artist year I've had. And those two fandoms are the two fandoms that got me out of it. So asking me to dump one of them is kind of heartless, low-key. But what do I see myself not drawing for the longest time? Because I feel like Sonic isn't going anywhere, especially with my involvement in SonicCon, and now I absolutely love the franchise, I will admit. I never thought I would be so in love with these characters as I am now. But I love Hell of a Boss, and I love Has-Been. I love Hell of a Boss more, I will admit. But I love Has-Been, I love their music, and I feel like because of Amazon's very bold taking them on for the next 3 seasons, we have at least a decade of Has-Been coming our way.
Yeah.
So for the next 10 years, I'll be drawing Has-Been. Like this is a very difficult conversation. So it's not about what I want to draw. I think it's what I will have most fun drawing. Right? And based on how much I enjoyed drawing and how challenging it was in the best way to draw my Terminator Sonic versus Metal Sonic piece, I will push Has-Been and Hell of a Boss off the metaphoric mountain.
That's okay. But
right, it's a mountain, so they actually just stumbled down. They didn't fall to their death. So they're there somewhere. I just can't
there
see
somewhere.
them.
You survived. You're okay.
In the meantime, Lucifer behind me is like, really? You're crazy. In the meantime.
Yeah.
There you go.
See.
Finish your episode now. I'm annoyed.
This has been episode 2 of Perfect Convention Creatives. We have covered a lot. We've covered what's happened in 2024 as well as what's happening in 2025. We have established many exciting projects, including a future pin Kickstarter for Sonic, our involvement in SonicCon, as well as this amazing podcast and all the conventions we're going to be doing, as well as amazing new things we're doing with our good friend Printing Like Rabbits. And we've learned that actually we've heard it here first, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but it turns out Gilles doesn't like Has-Been Hotel, so I'll say it. I just you know what I mean?
You literally did say it. You literally did.
I'm pretty sure. If we roll back the tape, it's definitely you saying, I am Gilles, and I do not like Has-Been Hotel. And you can quote me on this. That's what happened, yeah.
Wow, I'm so glad that we're going to a convention that is literally going to have mostly Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss on my table.
If you disagree with Gilles and you think that Has-Been Hotel is good, let us know in the comments.
It's good.
You can find our podcast on Spotify where you can leave a comment. However, you can listen to it on all good platforms. And if you're listening to it on iTunes or Apple Music or Apple Farts or whatever it's called now, I don't know. Go there, leave it 5 stars. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening to it anywhere, even Google, I know there's a Google podcast app. If you were the 4 people who use that, go on there, rate us 5 stars. It really, really counts and helps us a lot. And just leave a positive review. Okay,
So shady.
even if you're a Has Been Hotel fan, please leave a positive review. Okay, it would mean the world. And follow us on socials. The links and everything you need to know is in the description. And we can't wait to see you again for the 3rd episode where we talk about our next big convention.
Sure. I will say, before we get like a million hate comments, because Has Been Hotel fans are kind of known to leave a lot of rage comments. We both love Has Been. We listen to the soundtrack while we work. We are big fans. We have managed to dodge all spoilers from the apparently entirely leaked season 2.
Yes.
And I am staying away from that. But yeah, massive fans.
We are actually
ignore this
genuinely
one.
really big fans.
He doesn't know what he's saying.
We love, I personally adore Hello for Boss. It was the show that you introduced me to, actually. So, if anything, I'm the fake fan when it comes to the has-been world. But yeah, on that note, we will see you guys in the next episode. I'm gonna
Don't
hide.
hate me.
I'm hiding now.
You brought this on yourself. If we wake up tomorrow to a million of rage comments, it's all you. I am washing my hands from that.